Most luxury watches are not expensive because they're better. They're expensive because luxury pricing is inefficient. And if pricing is inefficient, value still exists. You just have to know where to look. Today, we're taking a look at where those inefficiencies are, because that's where there are still pockets of real value left in luxury watchmaking. Let's dive in. The first place pricing falls apart is in less hyped brands. Case in point, Chopard. They're not exactly a micro brand. They are very much part of the establishment, but they're not rated in the league of Audemars Piguet, Patek, and Vacheron Constantin. They are one of the few brands that make almost, if not everything, themselves. Truly in-house is very close to what they are. They are also a brand that have a real high horology credential. And for $13,600, they offer a Chopard LUC XPS in Prussian blue. The extreme thinness of the case is made possible by the LUC 96.12 L caliber. It's 3.3 millimeters thin. This is an automatic movement that integrates a 22 karat gold micro rotor, enabling the efficient winding of two superimposed barrels, delivering a 65-hour chronometer certified power reserve. $13,600 isn't cheap, but even at retail, you're getting a lot for your money. Compared to a $10,900 Omega Observatory, you're not going to spot huge differences on the dial. But what you don't get in a JLC Master Control Ultra Thin, and you don't get in the Omega Observatory, and don't even get in a Rolex, is a 65-hour chronometer certified 3.3 millimeter thin movement with a gold micro rotor. It's also a movement that in terms of detailing rivals some entry-level Pateks. That's where you see those first inefficiencies. Where there's less hype, you get more watch. Where else can you get more efficiency, less hype, and more watch? Well, here on this channel. Click subscribe if you're new here. Thanks a ton. The next place where pricing breaks or falls apart is in steel complications. In the high end, there's usually a paywall for complications. Most of the time, if you want a perpetual calendar, moon phase, or chiming mechanism, or some other bell and or whistle, you're going to have to pay a premium for gold, platinum, or unobtainium. Then, somebody like JLC have the Master Control chronograph calendar for just under $20,000. Chronograph, month, day, date, moon phase. For this amount of complication relative to most other JLC models, it's a better deal. You do still have to squint on the pricing in general, but for the level of work that JLC does, getting all of that in an only 12.05 millimeter thick case, that's worth considering at least. Any gold variant is going to be priced much higher, and despite the rising price of gold, gold watches essentially never hold their value. That's the second inefficiency. Complications are often mispriced in steel and overpriced in precious metals. The third place pricing falls apart is, of course, the secondary market or the gray market. Finding a good dealer that you can trust is a little bit more work, but even Patek Philippe and AP have watches that drop in value once they leave the store. It's a myth that everything Patek, everything AP, and everything Rolex hold their value. A GMT might, a Daytona does, but a 5226 drops off a cliff. Prepping for this video, I went online and just did a simple search on Chrono24 for that JLC Master Control chronograph calendar, a watch that's got a suggested retail price of $20,000. And I found it with the search criteria of new, 2024 or newer box and papers in the European Union, and I got an average price of $18,000. If I changed the search criteria to the US, the average price at the time of search dropped to under $17,000. A Patek 5226, which costs $48,000 where I live, can be picked up new in box for under $40,000 before even pushing the retailer on the price. Retail is often fiction, and the secondary market is the mechanism that fixes that fiction. The fourth place where pricing falls apart is in weak pricing power. This is where struggling brands, stale inventory, and weak sellers all start working in your favor. For this step in getting value without going to the gray market, you have to summon something called guts. Brands that are struggling at the brand level are usually struggling in stores as well. Omega is objectively not in a good place right now. You can use that knowledge at the AD. You can use it to negotiate. No AD is going to give you a discount on a Rolex Batman GMT or a Daytona. But if you want an Omega World Timer, there's an AD out there that wants it off the shelf. And the further you go to the edge of the catalog, away from the most popular models, and the more you go for the slightly more expensive stuff, the more likely you are to get a decent discount if you have the skill for it. So right now, IWC, Omega, Zenith, JLC, Panerai. Most brands in that kind of space are going to have ADs that are willing to entertain a conversation about discounts on the right models. The same thing applies to stale product lines. Brands often wait to update pricing on lineups till they have something new to the lineup. That lag creates value, and weak pricing power is where negotiation lives. Now, the bad news is these inefficiencies are kind of disappearing. Brands have become much better at enforcing internal pricing consistency, which means that real value does still exist. It's just in fewer places than it used to be. Very few brands aim for this something to prove approach anymore. More and more, above $2,000, $3,000, the play is just to price yourself like everybody else. There's a reason the Breitling Top Time is $6,100 on a steel bracelet, the IWC Mark 20 is $6,100 on a steel bracelet, and the Panerai Radiomir on a leather bracelet is $6,300. Also, more and more, you see especially high-end brands paywalling their coolest complications behind a precious metal premium. Now, I'm not going to stop talking about absurd pricing, but to some extent, we do just kind of have to accept that these brands cost what they cost, and brands have chosen to price themselves the way they have. Your only real option is to either go gray, negotiate on the bad products, or just not buy the watches you feel are overpriced. Luxury pricing has become very good at extracting emotion and very bad at reflecting value. The only way to win right now is to know where those pricing logics fall apart. And if you don't, you're not buying a better watch. You're just paying for stronger positioning. Those are my thoughts. Now, my question to you, how do you find value in luxury watch brands' offerings? Or do you honestly feel it's impossible? Share in the comments, like, subscribe. Cheers.